Okay, guys, again, I am Chris Smith out of Oklahoma City. We are so happy you all joined us this morning for this call. I am very excited to have the opportunity this morning to introduce my very best Zervita friend. We've been working together for about it's been closer to 20 years. Oh, my goodness. For a long time, we've been working together, and just happy to have her on. She's a leader. She's built a wonderful business, not only here but before in the past, so she's proved that she could do this over and over again. Our company featured her in Work From Home magazine, and we got to see her story and pictures of her funny farm. We follow her on Facebook all the time. Love the life that she's built for herself, and we're just excited to hear from her this morning. So with that, Patty, take it away.
Thank you, Chris. I always appreciate that introduction, but I always think, does that really me? But anyway, so excited to have you all here today and to be with this book. And it's 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself. And as Chris said, we went through this book a few years ago together, and it's such a great book. I mean, just to go back through it. And today we're on chapter 3, and it's Tell Yourself a True Lie. And he says, I remember when my then 12-year-old daughter, Marjorie, participated in a school poetry reading in which all of her classmates had to write a lie poem about how great they were. And they were supposed to make up untruths about themselves that made them sound unbelievably wonderful. He says, I realized as I listened to the poems that the children were doing an unintended version of what Arnold did to clarify the picture of his future by lying to themselves. They were creating a vision of who they wanted to be. It's noteworthy, too, that public schools are so out of touch with the motivational sources of individual achievement and personal success that in order to invite children to express big visions for themselves, they have to invite the children to lie. As it was said in the movie E.T., how do you explain school to a higher intelligence? Most of us are unable to see the truth of who we can be. My daughter's school developed an unintended solution to that difficulty. And if it's hard for you to imagine the potential in yourself, then you might want to begin by expressing it as a fantasy, as did the children who wrote the poems. And think up some stories about who you would like to be. Your subconscious mind doesn't know you're fantasizing, and it either receives pictures or doesn't. Soon you will begin to create the necessary blueprint for stretching your accomplishments. Without a picture of your highest self, you can't live into the self. Fake it till you make it. The lie will become the truth. And sometimes, guys, this just amazes me how things work out, coincidence, fate, or God incidents, I don't know. But I went last night to my granddaughter's kindergarten spring concert. And it was, all the kids were encouraged to dress up about what they wanted to be, who they wanted to be when they grew up. And so I thought it was just kind of perfect timing for this chapter. But they said, I thought this is sometimes what we do as adults when we're teaching people to goal set. We tell them to write a letter into the future, like a year from now, write a letter, to somebody and explain where you're at and what what your life has happened over the past year, so that we're basically speaking it into existence. It's something we've heard from the very beginning. But it was also last night was just so enlightening because these kids were all dressed up. My granddaughter, wanted to be a veterinarian. It was amazing how many people wanted to be kids and nurses and doctors and policemen and fire chiefs, astronauts, and see these kids' imaginations. But not only that, they got a lesson in public speaking 101 because they had to get up on their own with the microphone and say, I want to be a veterinarian because I love animals or whatever, and whatever they wanted to. And then they would say, and thank you, for listening. So they were being taught these things. But I thought, and they sang this song, it's like, when I grow up, and at the end they were like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And I thought, how great that they're programming these small children at this age. But I also, thought the other side, sometimes, when we grow up as, adults, we think back, I thought if we all went and looked back when we were young like a child, what did we say, what we wanted to do when we grow up and how far off did it get? And sometimes we have to go back and focus, really stay focused about what we were. And sometimes people get jaded as they get older and they realize life isn't quite what they thought it would be. But it's plugging into calls like this and personal development to remind us that this is how we get to where we want to be, to tell ourselves, I hate saying tell a lie because I don't like to lie, but it's to program our minds to think, and I believe, as there's a book, As a Man Thinketh, whatever we think we can profess and have happen. So, Chris, I'm going to pass it back to you for some of your great wisdom.
Well, I will tell you what, first off, it's so God, how you say that? God-adence? How do you say it? Like a God coincidence, I guess. You made a word there that I hadn't heard before, but it's so neat that, your granddaughter, their assembly last night, they were doing this exact thing. They were vision casting, if you will, what they were going to be when they grow up. And I know my mentor, Andy, he told me a long time ago, he said, what you think about and focus on the most will become your reality. And, a lot of us, that's exactly what we do. We focus on what we don't want. We focus on just getting by. We focus on just having enough. We focus on not running out. We focus on survival. And when we just focus on survival, guess what we'll always get? We'll just get survival. We'll just get by. We'll just have enough. We'll just barely scrape by. But when we start visioning for more and believing for more and really just, in my opinion, seeking God for the plans that He has for us, the Word of God is just full of promises and plans that God has for us. And so anyway, as a youth pastor, I had a few this morning. It says in Proverbs 29:18, where there's no vision, the people will perish. It says in Proverbs 21, good planning and hard work will lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts will lead to poverty. And then in Proverbs 16:29, it starts talking more about God's plans for us and seeking those. And it says we can make our own plans, but the Lord determines our steps. And one last one here in Ephesians 2:10, it says, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ so that we can do the good things that He planned for us long ago. So, no, I said one more, but I do have another one. Psalms 37:4 says, take delight in the Lord, and He will give you your heart's desires. I believe that God's put in all of us a big vision, a big purpose, a big thing to do, and I guarantee it's not just survival. It's just not getting by. There's things for us to do and people's lives for us to touch and people for us to help and have impact on. We've all been involved with different types of things, whether it's, products that we sell helping to feed people in other parts of the world, or whether it's ministries that we do local, and helping people. There's plans for our lives, and we just got to start seeking for them, and then we got to start talking about them. We got to start dreaming about them. We got to start envisioning them happening in our lives, and I just believe that we're going into a new season, a new time where these things can be accomplished, where the tools and resources needed to make these things happen are upon us, and I am just excited about it and excited about this subject this morning, so I'll flip it back over to you, Patty.
Well, always great, Chris. I love it because I love, when we speak, the vision, as you said, vision casting. And my word was God incidences, no coincidence. They're God incidences.
There you go. I love
it. And it happens. It just happens so many times. If you just reflect on your life, I know you'll see those things too. It's like, how did that just happen? We were just talking about that. It's like, one time, it's like when I was looking we had a car program, and I hadn't really thought about what kind of car I wanted, and whether it was a Mercedes, a BMW, or Cadillac, whatever it was. And I didn't even know what a Mercedes looked like. but I started researching on the internet, and I looked at a Mercedes. Well, guess what? Then every time I drove down the highway, I see a Mercedes. And it was like I never had that. These things just happen. But what I want to encourage you to do is, really, if you haven't done this before, I mean, it's like Chris said, sometimes, we think about the things we don't want. But I want you to think about what you do want and really create that vision statement. Where you want to see yourself, in the next year, where you want to see your 2 years, whatever. Write it down. Write it like you're writing a letter to somebody, a Christmas letter, how we do Christmas letters, and just tell, this happened to me. Speak it like it's happened. And then start reading that every single day, the vision you have for your life, because it's like speaking things. I have, these positive affirmations. I say, I have blessings coming from every direction. I don't know from where or why, but I'll accept it and thank the Lord for it. Or if I'm needing people to come into my life to talk to, I have people coming from every direction. I don't know where, but they're coming here, and I thank the Lord for them. Just start speaking these positive things, and look what happens, for your life. So anyway, we appreciate you being here, and happy Mother's Day to everybody, because we won't be talking to you before next week. So just appreciate you all so very much for being here. So Chris, I'll let you go ahead and unmute.
Wise words.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.